So we've been reconciled by Christ. Okay? So the incense has nothing to do with that. I just want to make it clear it wasn't some form of, now that Christ is in heaven, that something had changed that way. Okay? And that part's not changed either during the tribulation period. So we have to look elsewhere for salvation. Okay? So the incense isn't going to cut it. So let's go to verse 4 of Revelation chapter 8. The smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints went up in the presence of God from the angel's hands. Now, again, this is the incense altar, not a sacrificial altar. It is also, I think we talked that the incense that was described by God, the 4 incense and equal proportions, was people were warned if you use those for any other purpose, in Exodus 30, 34, and 38, it says, regarding this, you're forbidden to use it for any other common purpose, any other purpose.
Was that just in those proportions, or any other?
It was described to use those 4 ingredients in equal proportions for this purpose.
So all this was symbolizing the prayers that we're going up to.
Yeah. And if you go back, I think, to Revelations 5, what was it, 5:3 was it? Talked about the elders when they bowed down. Is it 5:3 or 8? I can't remember. Where they... 8. Okay, go ahead and read it.
And when we had taken it, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. Each one had a harp, and they were holding golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints.
Okay. All right. Some have talked about this angel. I don't know if we talked about that. There's some discussion on who is this angel. So there's a group that believe that an angel. This is really above an angel's calling. I don't know. I don't think so. My personal feeling is it's truly an angel that was assigned to do this task. Others believe it was Christ. The angel was symbolic of Christ. I don't believe that, because I believe we'll see in chapter 9 especially, we're going to be told that the angel's going to do something. The angel's going to do something, and a voice comes from the incense altar, which I believe is Christ, and it doesn't make sense that the altar would talk to himself. So, I think there's a whole series of things. If you read between the lines and you take the little bits, I think truly this is an angel that had a specific responsibility. Don't know if it was one of the 10 angels that are noted to be in the presence of God as servants, like Gabriel. There's a list of them that come. There's a list of them I'll give you probably in a couple weeks that doesn't come from our Bible, but it comes from the apocryphal books. Anybody know what that is? And I don't know a lot about them right now. I'm just getting started studying something to find out more about them. But they're the books from the end of the Old Testament to the New Testament that the Hebrews wrote. Okay, it's got a lot of stuff in it. It records a lot of things, and they weren't canonized when our present Bible was made. It was just some of the books that never made it in. Okay, it didn't cut what they wanted, or it was duplication.
You were talking about some people think that angel was Jesus. Now I can't think of any other, but do you know of any other place in the Bible that it's ever referred to Jesus as an angel or anything like that? Maybe because I was trying to think of any, and I can't think of any place I've ever seen it. I mean, I'm sure.
Most of the Old Testament, most scholars believe the term "the angel of the Lord" is Jesus.
Oh, okay.
So whenever you see that in the Old Testament, that is.
Remember Sodom and Gomorrah?
Well, the reason why I didn't know that
Remember Sodom and Gomorrah?
angel. So that's why.
Remember Sodom and Gomorrah?
Uh-huh.
Across the river? from Sodom and Gomorrah. They were up on the mountain, and the beings came to them.
Yeah.
A lot of people believe one of those figures, the one that stayed behind and talked to them, was Christ, the Spirit of Christ. The other two went on to Sodom and Gomorrah. So, and we had a long discussion about who was walking in the Garden of Eden. I was not aware that some people have studied and believe that that was Christ versus God himself. I went back and I read the verses while we were talking a little bit, and it does say there's nothing in there that says they visually saw God, and it actually goes immediately from their creation right into the story where they heard his voice and they hid because they'd already sinned. So there's not much scripture there to feed on either.
No, Dennis was right about that.
So, okay.
He's my brother. He's my receiver.
Okay. I don't think I'll read the verses that show how serious it is, but in Leviticus and others, you can see where the God-given procedures for incense burning and for how it's used. I was stating a little bit earlier that as a part of the yearly high priest going into the Holy of Holies, there was a procedure before he could enter that had to be done, and they were to take the coals, not only the coals, but the incense, and cover the altar, and this would create a huge amount of smoke in a small area. And the support material said the reason that was done was the thought was no man can see God and live. Therefore, if it's so smoky, it'll prevent you from having eyeballs on God. Essentially, it'll be so smoked up. Okay, so I don't know if God's intent, that's what it was, but it makes sense because what we know, as we talked about Moses, God told him to stick his nose in a rock. As I pass by, maybe you'll get a small glimpse of me, but don't look at me because you'll not live. Okay. There was another note in there. If you look in 2 Chronicles 30:27, you're going to see where Hezekiah reinstated. This was after the temple had been destroyed, and they were coming back and they were rebuilding, and the ceremony in the south was re-implemented. The Feast of Passover, it was the first opportunity that they had to re-invoke that, and also the first opportunity to re-set up the temple to do the incense burning. Has anyone recently looked at what they're planning in Israel right now? I didn't realize they were so far along in the preparation for the new temple. They have remember when Christ was among the lampstands? They have those lampstands built. They're huge. They are huge. And they're like $2 million a piece. The gold. They're already built. I mean, they've got just about everything built. And the big battle they've been doing is trying to get the cornerstones in the right position to drop them, And you can go online and read all about that. But it's a constant battle.
Right now, they've got incense and different types of things that are no longer exist. That generations ago, the priests and the Jewish people saved all that and have that in hiding. So nothing is missing as far as the incense and the
I
products.
guess the biggest problem preventing it in the current bill is the Muslims occupy the
Well, they proved that not to be necessary.
Right, and they swear.
Serve in the same place.
Right, and they
You can't put it there
swear,
again because it's not holy grounds anymore.
the Islams, in the temple. I saw it on the TV. I saw them.
Oh, it's gotta be right.
They had the guy, and he's saying, this is ridiculous. Everybody knows there wasn't a temple here, yet they've already found the construction of the temple underground, and the Hebrew that was there, he actually believes he said, here's the wall. I think on the other side of this wall is all the treasures. Okay? All the treasures.